Hi everyone. In this video we're going to walk through the verbal reasoning part of the 11 Plus admissions test. The verbal reasoning test assesses your ability to solve problems involving words and number sequencing. There are many different types of question, including some which test your understanding of antonyms, which are opposite words such as light and dark, synonyms, which are similar words such as happy and glad, and associating words with letters and numbers in codes. You can order practice papers from GL Assessment online. 3 free practice booklets are available on our school website. In this video, I'll be going through the first of these papers, so you may want to print it out and follow along yourself. You may also wish to view the Verbal Reasoning Parents Guide, which includes further information about the tests, including guidance on timing and answers for all 3 verbal reasoning papers. It's much easier to know what to do when you have the answers to help you out. In the actual test, you will have 50 minutes to work through the questions at your own pace, but there is quite a lot to get through in the time. This first type of question is called Move a Letter. We'll be given 2 words, and we have to move 1 letter from the first word to anywhere in the second word in order to make 2 new words that both make sense. For example, in this first one, we have the word pound and the word or. If we move the letter U to the middle of this word, then we can make the words pond and hour. Here we have the words metal and though. Let's try removing 1 letter at a time from the first word and see which word we're left with makes sense. If we get rid of the letter M, we get ettle. That isn't a word, so let's move on to the next one. E will give us not a word either. If we remove the letter T, however, you can see that we'll get the letters M, E, A and L, giving us meal. And if we move that letter to the end of this word, we get the word thought. So the answer is C, the letter T. In this second question, we have the words liner and bother. If we take the R from the end of liner, we get the word line. And if we move it into here, we get the word brother. So we can see that the correct letter to move is E, the letter R. This next type of question is known as finding the missing letter. All we have to do is choose which one of these 5 letters can fit into both of these sets of words in order to make 4 new words that all make sense. For example, in this first one, we can see that if we put the letter T into this bracket and this bracket, we get the words meet, table, sit, and top. So the answer is T. In this question, we have the options M, T, D, S, and N. Let's try them one by one and see which one fits best. If we put the letter M into the first bracket, we get the words worm and men, which both make sense. However, when we put it into the second bracket, we get film, which is not a word. So we know that the answer cannot be M. If we move on to T, we can see that we'll get the word walked, which doesn't make sense either. So it's not T. When we put the letter D in, however, we can see that we get 4 words that all make sense. Word, den, find, and dice. So that means that the letter that we put in the middle must be D. If we wanted to check that the other letters don't make sense as well, that can be a good option to check that you've got the right answer. In this next one, we have the letters B, K, M, P, and S. This question is all about creating words in the same way as a previously created word. In this example, you can see that we have 2 words inside the brackets on the outside and a third word inside a set of square brackets in the middle. This third word is made up of letters from the first and the second word on the outside. What we have to do is work out which letters from which word go in which place in order to make the third word. In this example, you can see that the first two letters of the word mat come from the first two letters of the word man, and the last letter of the word mat comes from the first letter of the word tip. So we want the first and the second letter from the first word and just the first letter from the second word. Now let's look at bug and dew. We'll apply the rules in the same way and get the first letter B, the second letter U, and the last letter D. So we can see that the answer is A, bud. Let's try another one. To help us out, let's start by numbering the letters of both of the words in two different colours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if we look at the word in the middle, not, we can see that the first two letters come from the word gnome, and these have position 2 and position 3 in the red word. The last letter comes from the second place of the word staff. Now let's apply that same rule to the two words on the right. The second and the third letter from the word image are M and A. Now the last letter will be made from the second letter of epoch, which is P. So now we can see that the answer to the question is B, map. These questions can be quite tricky, so I suggest you have a go at quite a few before you move on. In this next question, we have to find the most suitable way to continue a series of numbers. The series could be made up of any of the four basic operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. This series, we can see, goes 2, 4, 6, 8, and then a fifth number that we have to find. The best way to do sequences is to find the gaps between each of the terms and see if there is a pattern. 2 to 4 means adding 2. 4 to 6 also means adding 2. And 6 to 8 again means adding 2. We can see that the pattern for this sequence is just to add 2 every time. So 8 plus 2 will give us our next number, and that number is 10. So the answer is 10. Now let's look at a slightly harder example. Sometimes a series can be made up of two separate sequences that are combined together with alternating terms. This means that the first number will apply a rule to get the third number, and the second number will apply a rule to get the fourth number, and so on and so on. In this example, you can see that there isn't a pattern if we go through each consecutive number. But if we go from this number to this number, we can see that we have subtracted 3. 25 to 22 also subtracts 3, and 22 to 19 also subtracts 3. If we look at the other number, 32 to 27 subtracts 5. 27 to 22 again subtracts 5, and 22 to 17 again subtracts 5. If we carry on this red sequence, we can see that the next number we want to find will be given by the red rule of subtracting 5, which means we need to do 17 minus 5, and that will give us an answer of 12. So our answer is C, 12. Watch out for sequences like this, as they can look tricky at first, but they will always follow a nice simple rule. You just have to spot it. All we have to do in this next question is read the information and then answer the question in bold. Let's read the information. At the shops, Darren bought 8 oranges. Laura bought 3 oranges fewer than Chris. Rosario bought 3 oranges fewer than Darren and 1 fewer than Chris. How many oranges did Laura buy? It's always a good idea to look at the question in bold first so that you know which information you're looking for in the question. In this question, we're all buying oranges. So let's start out with a number that we know, Darren. Darren bought 8 oranges. So let's write D for Darren and 8 next to him. Laura bought 3 oranges fewer than Chris. We don't know how many oranges Chris bought. However, we know that however many Chris bought, Laura must have bought 3 fewer. So let's write C and L underneath, because we know that Laura must have bought less oranges than Chris. Rosario bought 3 oranges fewer than Darren and 1 fewer than Chris. This last sentence is the key bit of information we need to complete the question. If Rosario bought 3 oranges less than Darren, then Rosario must have bought 8 minus 3 oranges, which is 5. If Rosario has bought 5 oranges, and 5 oranges is 1 fewer than Chris, then Chris must have bought 6 oranges. If Chris has bought 6 oranges, and Laura has bought 3 oranges fewer than Chris, that means Laura must have bought 6 minus 3 oranges, which is 3 oranges. These sorts of questions can be a little difficult to understand at first, but just follow the information, write down some notes, and you'll get to the answer with a bit of logic and a bit of reasoning. This next question asks us to find 2 words from 2 sets of words which are the most opposite in meaning. This next question asks us to find 2 words, one from 2 groups, that are most opposite in meaning. What we get is 2 sets of 3 words, and we have to find which one is most opposite. The first thing we can do is look at which words are related to each other. The word morning and the word late are somewhat related to each other. The word early and the word late are definitely related to each other. And the word wake and the word late are not that related to each other. The word morning and the word shop are not related to each other at all. Remember, not being related to each other is not the same as being opposite words. In order to be opposite, they must mean completely opposite things. By thinking about the words in both sets, we can see that the most opposite words, that is, the 2 words that mean most different opposite things, are early and late. And so we would circle both of these words on the answers. In this question, we have the words lock, close and away, and the words key, distant and shut. Remember, the opposite word has to come from this set and this set. They will never be from the same set of words. Let's look at the words a little more closely. The word lock and the word key are somewhat related to each other. The word close and the word key are not related to each other. And the word away and the word key are not related to each other. If we look a little bit more closely, we can see that the words close and distant mean opposite things. If something is close, it means it is very near to you. And if something is distant, it means it is very far away. So that means that our most opposite words from both of the sets are close and distant. If you're struggling on any of these questions, make sure you think about if there's 2 ways to pronounce a word, as it may change the meaning and may help you find the answer. In this question, we have to find a hidden 4-letter word which is in between other words in another sentence. For instance, the word could be made from the end letter of a word and the first 3 letters of the next word. It could be made from the last 3 letters of one word and the first letter of the next word, or it could be made up of the last two letters of one word and the first two letters of the other word. In this sentence, the film ended happily after all, we need to find a four-letter word that makes sense, which is in between the words in the sentence. If we have a little peek, checking through each word as we go, we can see that there is a four-letter word between film and mended. The word mend. So the answer is film and ended, which is B. In this question, the sentence is, they were not alerted at once. If we look through the words one by one, we'll be able to find a four-letter word. Pause the video and see if you can find the four-letter word hidden in this sentence. If we look at the words not and alerted, we can see that there is a hidden four-letter word in between the two, the word tail. T-A-L-E. So therefore, the words that contain the hidden four-letter word are not and alerted. This next question involves letters using sequences. It works exactly the same way as the number sequence questions, however, using letters. Let's look at the first example. Here we can see that each pair of letters is made up of different letter sequences. The first letter simply counts through the alphabet. C, D, E, F. What would the next letter be? If we look at the alphabet, we know it goes C, D, E, F, G. So we know that our answer must begin with the letter G. Now let's look at the second bit of letters. We have two Q's followed by two P's. This means that the same letter is repeated from term to term, and then we move one letter back. If we follow the same rule, we will go QQ, PP, OO. So the second letter of our pair must be the letter O. And here we can see we've arrived at the answer, which is B, G-O. Here we have another sequence of letters. AQ, CM, EI, GE. We need to find the fifth pair of letters. Let's start by looking for any patterns. If you look closely, you can see that again, this is made up from two sets of letter sequences. The first letter in the pair is made up of one pattern, and the second letter in the pair is made up of another pattern. If we count using the first pattern, we can see that each time we are adding 2. A to C is plus 2. C to E is plus 2. E to G is plus 2. So we can find the next term in our sequence by adding 2 to the letter G, which gets us to I. So we know that our answer must begin with the letter I. Now if we look at the second sequence, we can start counting back from Q. Q to M is minus 1, 2, 3, 4. Minus 4. M to E is also 1, 2, 3, 4 letters back. And so we move to the next pair of letter, which is again 1, 2, 3, 4 steps back. And if we count another 4 steps back, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 and arrive at the letter A. So our answer must be IA, which is one of the options down here. Have a go at a few more of these questions and watch out for hidden letter pair sequences. Sometimes the pairs can alternate in sequence as well as the letters inside of the pairs. Let's try another example. In this question, question 49, the gaps in between the letters will change as the terms progress. The gap between S and N is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. The gap from N to J is 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. So we can see that the gap has decreased by 1 letter. If we go from J to G, we can see that it's again only 3 letters away. This follows then that the first letter of our next pair must only be 2 letters away from G, which is the letter E. If we look at the second letter in our pair, G to L is plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters. L to P is plus 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. So again, we are following the pattern of decreasing the gap by 1 letter each time. To go from P to S, we need to go 3 letters. 1, 2, 3. So the final letter in our last pair must then be 2 letters away from S. 1, 2, the letter U. So we can see that the answer is EU. In this question, we have to find the missing letters from a word. In each of these questions, the word in bold has had 3 consecutive letters removed from it, and we have to find what letters these are. Let's read the sentence. The cat scratched him with his CS. Cats scratch with claws, so let's see if any of the examples give us the word claws. Option A would give us clads, but option B would give us CLAWS, which is the word claws. And now the sentence makes sense. The cat scratched him with his claws. Let's try a few more. In this question, the sentence is, his favourite food was Cabe. If we check through the options and keep in mind that we're looking for a food, we can deduce that the actual answer is A, BAG. If we write out the letters of the word like this and put the word BAG, bag, in the middle, we get the word cabbage. This is a food, and whilst it might be a bit strange, his favourite food is indeed cabbage. So that is our answer. Sometimes these words can be quite complicated and might require you to look for a long time in order to find them. But don't worry, you'll get better at finding missing words as you practice more. Let's have a go at question 59, as this has quite a long word to try and find. Tea bags have lots of pearations. Now, obviously, pearations is not a word, so we need to put one of these words into it in order to make the sentence make sense. Tea bags have lots of little holes in them to allow the water to soak with the tea and brew the cup of tea. Another word for small holes is perforations. We can see that if we put the word for into this word, we can get the word perforations. So the answer is C. Next, we're going to try some questions called linking the words. We'll be given 2 words in bold and 3 words for each of them in brackets. Our job is to find which of the words is related to the first word in the same way that the second word is related to these words. Let's have a go. Big is to small, orange or colour, as wide is to apple, red, or narrow. First, we must think about which one of these words is related to each other. And we can see that obviously big is related to small, as they are antonyms or opposite words. This means that we're looking for the opposite of wide, which is narrow. So our answers are small and narrow. Let's have a go at some more questions. Bus is to driver, passengers, road, as plane is to airline, cloud, pilot. If we look at these pairs of words, we can see that bus and driver go together the same way as plane and pilot. A driver drives a bus and a pilot flies a plane. So the answers are driver and pilot. This is another question in which we have to read some information and then answer a question about it. A cinema is open every night from 7 p.m. The latest time a film begins is 11 p.m. Films can start at 7:15, 8:15 and 9:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. On Mondays and Wednesdays, films start on the hour every hour. At the weekend, films start every half hour from 7 p.m. If these statements are true, only one of the sentences below must be true. Which one is it? The easiest thing to do with these questions is to go through each statement one by one and see if it is true or false. Let's start with statement A. No films start at 9:30. We know that this can't be true, as at the weekend, films start every half hour from 7 o'clock. So that means that a film must start at 7, 7:30, 8, 8:30, 9 and 9:30. So it's not A. B says on Tuesday a film starts at 9 p.m. We can see that is wrong because it tells us that on Tuesdays films only start at 7:15, 8:15 and 9:15. Films start at 9:15 3 days each week. We know that they start at 9:15 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. However, on other days of the week, they don't start at 9:15. On Mondays and Wednesdays, they can only start on the hour. And at the weekend, they only start every half hour. So C is also false. A film starts at 9 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and at the weekend. This one must be true. Because on Mondays and Wednesdays and at the weekend, there is a film on the hour. This means that on Mondays and Wednesdays, there will be films at 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And at the weekend, there'll also be films at 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. This means that the film must start at 9 on Monday, Wednesday, and at the weekend. So D is the correct answer. In this question, we have to find which word out of a set of 5 goes equally well with 2 pairs of words. Here in the example, the words are world and globe and soil and ground. Out of these 5 words, the word that goes best with both of the pairs is the word earth. The world and the globe are other words which we can also call the earth, our planet. Earth, however, is also a word used for soil, dirt, and the ground. So earth fits equally well with both sets of words. So the answer is D. In these questions, you'll always be looking for synonyms, so make sure you don't get confused. Here, our pairs are wood and trunk, and howl and whale. The word tree goes well with wood and trunk, but it doesn't go well with howl or whale. The word shout goes well with howl and whale, but not well with wood and trunk. The word cut goes not very well with either of the pairs. However, the word bark does go well with both sets of words. Bark is the outside layer of a tree trunk, so wood and trunk go well with bark. However, bark is also the sound that a dog makes, in the same way that howl and wail are sounds that a dog can make. So our word that goes equally well with both sets of pairs is bark. In this question, we'll have to solve a number code in order to find letters and words. Each number is assigned to a letter in each of the 4 words above. For instance, the letter 8 is at the start of this code, so it could either be the letter K, the letter I, or the letter P. Let's look for letters and numbers that occur multiple times. Remember, there are 4 words and 3 codes, so one of these words will not have a code written underneath. The letter 7 appears at the end of this word and as the second letter in this word. If we look above, we need to find 2 words which share the same letter in the 4th and 2nd position. Into and poet share the letter O in this way. Are there any more words that do it like this? Yes. The word pain and into share the letter N in the same way. So the number 7 could either be the letter O or the letter N. Now let's look at number 5, as this occurs 3 times in our code. Which letter appears 3 times in 3 different words? The letter I appears 2nd, 1st, and 3rd. Since this is the only letter to appear 3 times in this way, we can deduce that the number 5 must be the letter I. Now let's go back to the numbers of 7 and 5 together. In this word, we have an I at the start, followed by either an O or an N. The only word where this is possible is into, which goes I-N-T-O. So we know that the number 7 must be the letter N. Now that we know this, we know that the number 1 must be the letter T, and the number 6 must be the letter O. We also know that the 5 and the 7 of pain can tell us that the letter of A is the number 4, and the letter P is the number 8. Let's write out this entire code as much as we know it so far. The only numbers we have left to find are 2 and 3. They appear in this word. This word has a 5 at the start of it and 1 near the end of it. That means that there's an I and a T, and we can see from the words above that the word is kite. That means that the number 3 must be the letter K, and the number 2 must be the letter E. And so we can complete our code like this. Now we have completed our code, we can use it to find other letters and solve other problems. Here, our fully written out code is placed on the right. Find the word that has the number code 8243. All we have to do is look at the numbers on our code and write out the letters one by one. The number 8 refers to the letter P. The number 2 refers to the letter E. The number 4 refers to the letter A. And the number 3 refers to the letter K. So our answer is B, peak. To find the code for the word not, we need to do the opposite of what we did in the last question. The number for K is 3. The number for N is 7. The number for O is 6. And the number for T is 1. That means that our letter code is 3761, which is again option B. Hopefully you now feel more comfortable with some of the questions on the verbal reasoning paper. It's worth noting that not all of the question types were covered in this first booklet, so we strongly encourage you to look through the rest of the GL assessment booklets available on our website. We recommend that you complete as many questions as possible before the test, and practice until you feel comfortable with all of the question types. Have a go at some past papers before the real thing if you're struggling. Now that you've had a go at the verbal reasoning, please see our other video which goes through the non-verbal reasoning paper.